Hi, I'm Arif Akil. I'm a beginner student of sacred reality, philosophy, Gnosticism. So, in this video, we continue to explore into Professor Chittick's fascinating book, Science of the Cosmos, Science of the Soul. And today, we explore Chapter 3. Chapter 3 titled Rehabilitation of Thought. So, a bit of a recap first. Chapter 1 starts, Professor Chittick teases us by telling us about a vanishing heritage. What is this heritage that is vanishing, that is disappearing? He uses his big fancy term, intellectual knowledge. He introduces that intellectual knowledge in Chapter 1, or what I like to call soulful knowledge. Chapter 2, he goes deeper into intellectual knowledge. What are its components? What does it consist of? How do we achieve intellectual knowledge? How would someone who actually has intellectual knowledge, would I see the world today? By the time you come to Chapter 3, you begin to actually question, is this discussion even relevant? So we're losing intellectual knowledge. So what? Isn't this some glorified ivory tower thinking? Or does it actually address the very real concrete problems that we face today, in the beginning of the 21st century? Not really the beginning, we're good 24 years into the 21st century. So, to answer this question, if intellectual knowledge and the search for it is actually relevant, we're going to explore. We're going to explore 1. What is true thought? 2. What is the science of wisdom? And 3. How does this bring about personal transformation? But first of all, why is this important? Why is this even relevant? Because, my dear viewer, despite all your Google and ChatGPT, despite all your technological progress in thoughts and ideas, you can't deny that your life feels fragmented. Your life feels more disconnected than ever before. You're drowning in information, but somehow you feel emptier than ever before. Despite all our amazing technology and all our scientific advances, something feels just off. Well, there's a reason for that, and it goes deeper than you might imagine. What is true thought? Traditional Islamic thought is far more relevant than any of the sciences, technologies, and ideologies that occupy the minds of most contemporary thinkers. Let's start with something that might sound strange at first. According to traditional Islamic thought, most of us aren't really thinking at all. We are just processing. What does that mean? Well, think of it this way. Imagine your mind has 3 levels. Right at its surface level is just reaction. We're just constantly just reacting to the stimulus and information that hits us. Level 2, sometimes we go a bit deeper. We're not just reacting, we are perhaps analyzing, problem solving, a little bit of studying. And then there is level 3. Level 3, where you're truly connected to pure awareness, pure, unhindered understanding, true consciousness. Sadly, most of us spend our lives in level 1, level 2, Most of us spend our lives in reactions and perhaps analyzing data, solving problems. But real thought, what the Islamic tradition calls aqal or intelligence, is something so much more deeper. How deep? As one of the great Persian poets, Rumi, puts it, brother, you are that very thought. The rest of you is just bones and fiber. If roses are your thought, you are a rose garden. If thorns are your thought, you are fuel for the furnace. What Rumi is telling us is profound. We aren't beings that think. We aren't thinking beings. We are our thoughts. Not just some random mental chatter, but our deepest awareness and consciousness. I love this metaphor, so I keep bringing it up again and again. Think of it like this. Most modern thinking is like taking photos of the sunset. And then once we capture the information, we analyze the colors, the patterns. We even share it on social media and feel happy about it. But true thought is like being blown away by the sunset, being fully present to its reality, understanding your place in the cosmos. The Islamic intellectual tradition tells us that consciousness isn't a product of our brains. No, 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 no. You are the consciousness. You are the real awareness. That is consciousness, real awareness is the fundamental reality of the fabric of the universe. It's not something we create. It's something that perhaps we wake up to. To give an example, have you ever had a moment of sudden deep understanding? Not just learning a new fact, but really, you feel that I'm seeing clearly for the first time? That glimpse is what we're talking about. But here's the challenge we face today. Our modern world is designed to keep us in the first two levels of our mind. We're constantly just reacting, processing information, solving problems. And while these activities are necessary, the problem is they prevent us from accessing the true deeper levels of understanding, what the tradition calls intelligence, pure awareness. This isn't, ivory tower thinking. This isn't some philosophical theory, because it has implications on how we make decisions, how we form relationships with each other, how we find meaning in life, how we connect with what's truly greater than ourselves. Well, there is good news. And the good news is that this capacity for deeper understanding isn't something that we need to acquire. It's already within us. We just need to learn how to access it. But to understand how to access this deeper awareness, we first need to understand something crucial about the nature of wisdom itself. There's something so deeply embedded in our modern thinking that we rarely even notice it. And it's called Scientism. What is Scientism? It is yet another ism in our modern life. It's the belief that scientific methods and findings are the only reliable path to truth. It is the only reliable path to reality. If science says it, it exists. If science doesn't say it, it is a fabrication, it is a fantasy, it is myth. Well, I have a challenge for you. If science, you take everything up on science, well, when was the last time you challenged science? When was the last time you questioned what you learned as criminal? When was the last time you questioned about how the universe works? Most of us actually simply accept that the scientific description of reality is the valid one. We've been taught that anything else, especially religious or spiritual understanding, belongs to the realm of personal belief, ritual, moral guidance, but nothing to do with the real world. That worldview is like wearing tinted glasses. It's coloring everything we see. And now we see everything through scientism lenses. These glasses make us look at ancient wisdom tradition and think, oh, those were primitive ideas. And here's where we made this crucial mistake. When we looked at traditional Islamic scholars and scientists, we assume they were trying to do what modern science is doing today, just a little less successfully. And that completely misses the point. These scholars weren't failed modern scientists. In fact, they were pursuing something entirely different. They were not trying to understand how the universe works mechanically. They were up to something so much more. They were seeking to understand the meaning of the universe, the purpose of the universe, and what is our place within it. Let me explain by an analogy. Imagine two different ways of exploring a vast, beautiful forest. One person uses satellite imagery, drones, catalogs every species, measures every tree, its length, its breadth, its width, its height. Whereas the other learns to live in harmony with the forest, understanding its rhythms, its cycles and connections. That, dear viewer, is the difference between modern science or scientism and traditional Islamic scholars, what they call hikma or wisdom. Now, here's where it gets interesting. The Islamic tradition uses a concept called tawheed, unity, whereas modern science or scientism uses tahtir or multiplicity. Let me break this down in simple terms. Modern science excels at multiplicity, at breaking things down, analyzing, categorizing. Whereas traditional wisdom, tawheed, integrates our knowledge, unifies it, seeks harmony. Now, of course, modern science can be useful. After all, it's given us the smartphone, medical breakthroughs, space travel. But we have to realize that the more we keep breaking things down into all individual pieces, smaller and smaller and smaller, the harder it becomes to see how it all fits together into one unified whole. As Allama Iqbal, a brilliant Muslim philosopher, puts it, science is like so many vultures falling on the dead body of nature, each running over, tearing it apart, and each running away with its piece of flesh. It's a pretty vivid image, right? Because he's making a crucial point. Once we actually do that, once we actually tear it apart, we lose sight of the whole picture. And we tend to focus on that individual part only. By no means do I say that modern science or multiplicity or tahtir is false. The point is this: it is short-sighted, incomplete. It misses the important point because modern science implicitly denies the ultimacy of the one reality that stands beyond all other realities. And this is where wisdom, traditional wisdom, hikma, comes in. Because traditional wisdom doesn't ignore the details, but sees how it always connects back to the whole. Traditional wisdom asks, how does this piece of knowledge connect to everything else? What does it mean for how we should live? How does it help us understand our place in the universe? For example, and I love this example, modern psychology might help us understand the mechanics of clinical depression. But wisdom asks a deeper question. It asks, what is the nature of happiness? What is it that gives life meaning? How do we connect with something larger than ourselves? This is why Islamic intellectual tradition emphasizes that true knowledge must be unified. It must be transformative. It should transform us and change how we see and live. And most of all, it has to be personal. It has to be discovered through our own self-realization. So here's the big question. How do we do it? How do we acquire this holistic vision of wisdom? How do we get connected and stay connected to the greater reality, to the sacred? The answer lies in something called tahkik, or verifying through personal realization. And that's what we're exactly going to explore next. There's something profoundly different about traditional Islamic learning that might surprise you, which is it is intensely personal. And when I say personal, I don't mean that it's private or individual. I mean something deeper. In this tradition, you couldn't just read about wisdom in books or memorize what others have discovered. Each seeker has to experience and verify truth for themselves within their own consciousness. And this is tahkik. This is the journey of personal realization. I mean, imagine if somebody told you about the taste of honey. They could describe it perfectly. How sweet it is, its texture, its golden color. They could even show you scientific studies, show you its molecular structure. But until you taste it for yourself, you don't really know honey, do you? Now, from a modern perspective, this might seem inefficient. Yeah, everyone have to rediscover the truth for themselves. Isn't that reinventing the wheel? But here's the thing. Wisdom isn't like technological knowledge that can be simply passed from one person to another. It's about awakening to a reality that was always there. It's about activating something within your own consciousness. See, you can't learn to see by hearing a lecture about seeing and hear only all day. No. You have to open your eyes and look. That's what traditional Islamic scholars would say, that we all have this inner eye of awareness. We need to learn to open it, learn to look at the blazing sun for ourselves. This understanding changes everything about how we approach learning. It's not about collecting more information. It's about awakening our faculty, our own capacity for direct understanding. What they call the universal breath of awareness, the fragrance of awareness that exists within each one of us. I'm going to close with this quote by another beloved author, our Professor Syed Hussein Nasser. The quest for truth must be carried out by each individual person individually because it is like breathing. It is something no one else can do for us. You have to breathe for yourselves. So, in conclusion, whether you're a Muslim or a non-Muslim, whether you're a spiritual seeker or a skeptic, remember this: your capacity for understanding is far greater than what you've led to believe. You are not just a processor of information. You are a witness to reality itself. So, it's quite a journey, wasn't it? Even if a glimmer of what I shared connected with you, stay on this journey. Do read Science of the Cosmos, Science of the Soul by Professor William Chittick. The wisdom it contains might just change how you see everything. So, till my next video, take care, keep reflecting, keep smiling. Goodbye.